What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast and I'm finally back with a new video this season. For those of you wondering where I've been, I went on holiday pretty much as the new season started, so unfortunately I didn't get the chance to pre-record any videos before I went away, and I just got back home yesterday. Now whilst I was away, I didn't really play much at all, so these battles are still going to be at a very low rank. I believe I started at rank 9, so don't expect the highest level of gameplay you've ever seen. I felt quite rusty whilst I was playing, and obviously not going up against the highest caliber of players. Now I did ask my subscribers to send in some battles after leagues rotated, so I could showcase some new content pretty much as soon as I got back from my holiday. However, I've only received one submission so far, also at a pretty low rank, and it didn't feature any newly buffed Pokemon, so I'm going to mention this now, but at the early stages of the season, I will be looking to prioritize submissions that feature Pokemon that receive move updates this season, ideally with more than one buff Pokemon on the same team. But anyways, into today's video, I'm going to be revisiting the full Scyther evolution line in the Open Ultra League, as all three of these Pokemon got buffs to their fast move, with Cleaver gaining access to Fury Cutter, which got buffed, Scyther already having access to Fury Cutter, and Scyther having access to both Fury Cutter, but also Bullet Punch, which got buffed. Now, both of these fast moves are really good. Fury Cutter is now a Psywave clone, and Bullet Punch is a Sucker Punch clone, or a clone of Counter before it got nerfed, making them statistically two of the best fast moves in the game. But of course, Bug and Steel aren't particularly good offensive typings, which does kind of balance it out. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. Which league would you prefer to see content in for the remainder of this league rotation? Would you prefer Ultra League content or Fossil Cup content? Let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Right, so into the first battle, leading Cleaver into Aggron. An awful matchup for me, but the opponent makes my life so much easier as they, for whatever reason, swap straight away into Venusaur. I do not understand that decision whatsoever, and it's kind of an indication of sort of the level of these battles. Obviously, not the best play on the opponent's end, but I fire off the Aerial Ace, looking to Fury Cutter, farm them down, just barely not able to do so, but this is just going to be a Frenzy Plant. It's double resisted, I'm able to tank it, and I did actually just barely come out with a Trailblaze loaded. I wasn't certain if I'd get there, so I settled for the Aerial Ace. Of course, double resisted, really doesn't do much damage at all, but now we can align our Shadow Scissor to the Aggron. This is definitely ideal for me, but the opponent then swaps into Sylveon. Huge for me. We can go straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze, gonna grab a shield from the opponent, and look at the Bullet Punch damage. I'm able to fully farm them down there, coming out one away from back-to-back Night Stashes. The first Night Stash should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and I've reached a second Night Stash, actually reaching another Trailblaze, but it doesn't really matter. Night Stash puts them into one Bullet Punch farm down range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to open there into next battle, Cleaver into Hatterene. So we are going to, Hatterene, we are going to stay in this matchup initially. I'm actually going to bait here, honestly. Hatterene is quite glassy, so I expect to shield. The opponent actually does not shield there. If I full sent the Stone Edge, I would get the one shot, but the opponent fires off the Side Shock. I can Fury Cutter, farm them down, and the opponent comes in with a Machamp, so I'm going straight for the Trailblaze. Once again, we're boosted, so Trailblaze does grab a shield this time around, and now I swap into my Scyther. They could have access to Rock Slide, but they don't farm to it. It's just a cross chop that is double resisted damage there. Very comfortable tank for the Scyther. We can now fire off the Aerial Ace. Trailblaze, of course, is going to be resisted up against the Poison typing, and I'm able to reach a second Aerial Ace before they do reach a Shadow Ball. Aerial Ace number 2, going to be no-shielded once again. So at this point, I'm going to no-shield this. The opponent fires off a Scald there. I'm going to bank, well, a little bit of health there on my Scyther, but I come in with my Sizzle, and this is going to be game over, of course. Going for the Trailblaze, boosting up my attack here, and now I can just shield once, commit to a full Bullet Punch farm down. One more Bullet Punch will be enough to take out my champ there. You can see it was also very much under-leveled as well, but I'm able to take that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see Cleaver into Golisopod. So this is an awkward matchup for me. Unfortunately, if they are on Aqua Jet, which they should be, they will actually outpace me before I do reach even a Trailblaze, let alone a Stone Edge. So I'm going to shield up the Aqua Jet here. And again, I'm going to bait with a Trailblaze. I should be grabbing a shield here as I am a Rock-type Pokemon. And I grab the shield. I'm now going to swap, catch the move onto my Scyther. Scyther, not the bulkiest Pokemon ever, but I do live an Aqua Jet there. And I'm able to just barely outpace them to the Aerial Ace here. here, throwing just as we get there. Aerial Ace gets the KO, but they come in with a Thunder Fang Steelix. I commit to the Trailblaze. I'm not able to get there. Maybe should have gone for the Aerial Ace there, but of course, Aerial Ace doesn't do much damage. We're now going to come back in with the Cleaver. I'm going to have to no-shield this. The opponent fires off a Breaking Swipe, and unfortunately, they drop my attack there, which is definitely not ideal. I can raise it straight away, but Trailblaze really doesn't do much damage. At this point, they probably would just be able to fully Thunder Fang farm me down. So I swap into my Scyther. I no-shield the first move, and again, unfortunately, debuffing my attack. Again, we can go for that Trailblaze, boosting up once again, but of course, Trailblaze not doing too much damage there. These bullet punches, they are resisted. Breaking Swipe does not get the debuff this time around. I'm looking to farm up 2 back-to-back charge moves, but I realize at this point they probably will just let these Steelix go down, and they come in with a Drapion. Now, of course, I'm double resisting the fast move damage, but they are so spammy. I fire off the Trailblaze. The opponent no-shields that, which is a smart play here. So if I did reach a move on my Cleaver, of course, that would get the KO. However, the opponent, so spammy, I don't even get there anyways. Of course, Aqua Tail, super effective up against the Cleaver, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG swap in there into next battle. We see a Mamoswine in the lead. So honestly, I should be swapping out as soon as I see that they're on Mud Slap, because of course, Scyther triple resist Mud Slap, and Scyther can hit for super effective damage with bullet punches. But I stay in with the Cleaver. I use a shield. They actually went for Avalanche there, so probably not going to be on Icicle Spear. But because I stayed in for so long, they actually reach a second Avalanche before I do get to a move on my Scyther. So that's definitely a misplay on my end, but that's okay because they come in with a Garchomp. We're going straight for Trailblaze, grabbing a shield from the opponent, and I'm able to outpace them to the next charge move here. This time, firing off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace does big damage since I'm boosted, and I'm actually able to get a full Fury Cutter farm down as they come in with a Confusion Tapu Lele. So I'm going to go for the boosted Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace does big damage. We can now swap into Scyther, get the Bullet Punch snipe, and we can Bullet Punch, farm down the Mamoswine to take that game. So, GG swap in there into next battle, Cleaver into Virizion. So, not really ideal for me here. What I'm going to do is stay in this matchup. I will wait to see if they farm up to a Stone Edge. They're not going to. Instead, firing off the Leaf Blade there. Leaf Blade actually does quite a lot of damage, but I'm able to swap, catch the next Leaf Blade onto my Scyther. Maybe should have called it onto my Scyther, but this was my worry, that they come in with a Fire-type Pokemon, and they do. They come in with Typhlosion. I'm going to go straight for Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace does respectable damage there, but they can fully incinerate farm me down, coming out with back-to-back Thunder Punches, and this is really risky here. If I go for the charge view straight away, unfortunately, and if the opponent does not throw it immediately, I will give a full Incinerate in for free. So I'm going to do the same here, but what it does mean is the opponent reaches back-to-back Thunder Punches. I have to use both my shields here. I farm up 2 back-to-back Trailblazers. I'm hoping I live a single Incinerate, but that is not the case. But I do at least put them into Bullet Punch farm down range, so it kind of just depends what Virizion is running as their secondary charge move. The opponent is going to look to farm up to the Stone Edge, so at this point, it's probably going to be game over. I go for the Night Slash. We don't get a boost or anything like that. The opponent is going to full send the Stone Edge. One more double kick, gets the fast move farm down, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG swap in there into next battle. Going to see a pretty decent matchup for me as we lead into a Bomber Snow. The opponent save swaps into Togekiss, and I'm not messing around. I'm going straight for Stone Edge. Stone Edge is no shielded. It gets the one shot. They swap into Swampert, and they're actually on Water Gun. So again, not the most optimal movesets for these Pokemon to be running, but we're going to shield up the Hydro Cannon. I'm now going to overfarm considerably. I'm going to fire off the Trailblaze here. I might even undercharge this just slightly. No, never mind. Going to fully charge it there, and the opponent is going to shield, so I can go for a second Trailblaze. Trailblaze, of course, boosted. Double super effective. It will easily get the one shot. But at this point, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to shield this up, and I might be able to commit to a full Fury Cutter farm down. I'm committing to the farm down, and we get there in time. We come out with a double boosted Aerial Ace loaded. It's not a good move, but Aerial Ace does huge damage to the Abomasnow. One single Fury Cutter gets the farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG swap in there into next battle, leading into Empoleon. So, not really ideal for me. They are on Metal Claw, it looks like. I'm going to go straight for Trailblaze. Of course, Trailblaze going to hit for neutral damage up against the Steel and Water typing. And these Fury Cutters, honestly, kind of chunky now that I've boosted up my attack. So, I'm going to shield this up here. The opponent does go for the Drill Peck, which would hit for super effective damage. I'm already at Trailblaze number 2, so we fire it off straight away, grabbing the first shield from the opponent. At this point, these Fury Cutters are absolutely shredding through the Empoleon. They full send send a flash cannon for whatever reason. I don't have a clue why, but that allows a full farm down, but they come in with a Fire Fang Pyro. So we're at back-to-back aerial aces. I'm boosted, so the first one does big damage. The second one should grab the final shield from the opponent, and now we can come back in with the Cleaver. By the time I reach a Trailblaze, even though it's resisted and non-stab, this will be enough damage to get the KO. So Trailblaze takes out the Pyro, and they come in with a Water Gun Vaporeon, and you always know you're at lower elo when you see a Vaporeon, but we're going to go straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze does big damage there. We can come in with the Scyther, one final bullet punch, gets the fast move farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top on there into next battle. Very tricky lead for me as I see a Corviknight. So, we're going to stay in this matchup initially. They will outpace me to an Iron Head, so I'm going to have to shield this up here. But I realize if I go for a Stone Edge, by the time I reach a Trailblaze, there will be a second Iron Head because, of course, Fury Cutter and Sand attack generate the same energy. So, I'm going to swap, catch the Iron Head onto my Scyther. The opponent fires off the Iron Head there, and they're going to swap into a Belly Bolt. So, actually a pretty usable team from the opponent here. Not really ideal for me. We're going to go for a Trailblaze. Trailblaze boosts up our attack. At this point, we're going to have to let the Scyther go down, as if I shield this, they can probably just fully Sucker Punch farm me down. Now, Cleaver is still fairly healthy. If I come in with my Scyther here, of course, the bullet punch damage will be resisted. So we're going to go for the Trailblaze. Immediately, Trailblaze grabs a shield there. And unfortunately, the opponent just barely able to outpace me to that next parabolic charge. So at this point, I'm going to shield this up here. They are now double buffed in their defense. I'm looking for a Fury Cutter farm down, but that's not going to happen. So I'm forced to throw a Trailblaze, but I'm incredibly low. I'm going to bank a Trailblaze on the Cleaver. Gonna come in with my Scyther, and unfortunately the opponent reaches a last second Sky attack, getting me incredibly low. Their final Pokemon gonna be a Lapras here, and maybe I should go for Night Slash here, just because if I fire off the Night Slash, I probably reach a second move, but the opponent just barely able to outpace me here. Now, I do believe I have a Trailblaze loaded. No, never mind. I don't have it loaded, but it doesn't matter. Trailblaze would not get the KO. I needed the Stone Edge, and I do not get there in time. But anyways, into next battle, going to see a Cleaver into a Venusaur. So, of course, it's a fairly okay matchup here. Pretty neutral, but I'm going to swap, catch a double resisted Frenzy Plant onto my Scyther. And Frenzy Plant, of course, not going to do much damage. They come in with a Togekiss. Not really ideal, as, of course, Fury Cutter going to be double resisted by the Flying and Fairy typing. But Aerial Ace does respectable damage there, and I'm able to reach a second Aerial Ace before they fully charm farm me down. Aerial Ace gets them very low, but they do actually cool that they can live that. And they might come out with a charge move loaded. So I'm going to come in with the Cleaver here. And unfortunately, they do come out with that move loaded. I'm expecting maybe an Aerial Ace, but it's actually an Ancient Power. Ancient Power, super effective. It gets me incredibly low. We're going to swap into Scyther here. And of course, Scyther going to double resist everything they can possibly throw. So, of course, Frenzy Plant not going to do much damage. I'm going to overfarm here, farming up to back-to-back Night Slashes before firing off the first one. Night Slash, going to be no-shielded, and they've got a Alolan Muck in the back on Poison Jab, so this should be game over, of course. Double resisting the fast move damage here. They can possibly bait with an Acid Spray, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We're already boosted. We fire off the Night Slash. All my charge moves are resisted, but it's the Bullet Punch damage that will be adding up over time. They go for the Acid Spray there, dropping Eye Defense. It doesn't matter. These Bullet Punches absolutely chunking, and we are boosted, so a resisted Night Slash will be getting the KO from that range, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on that into next battle, Cleaver into Decidueye. So this is a matchup which is actually going to be a lot better for my back Pokemon. Once I finally realized they're on Razor Leaf, I was like, what the heck is going on here? But we're going to swap into my Scyther here. We do bank a Trailblaze, which is worth noting. But either way, we fire off the Aerial Ace, grabbing a shield from the opponent. I did think about going for a Trailblaze there to boost up my attack. But either way, it doesn't matter. I grabbed both shields from the opponent, which is very surprising. But the opponent going to fire for Charge Reef here. They go for an Acid Spray bait, so fine with me. I will reach a last second Aerial Ace here. This will not be enough damage to get the KO, but it does at least do some respectable damage there. Either way, I'm going to come in with the Cleaver here. I'm going to overfarm. Unfortunately, overfarming slightly too much here. I don't want to be baited, so I no shield, and they full send the Dark Pulse. But we can come in with Scyther. We got two shields, and they come back in with a Decidueye. So we go straight for a Night Slash here. Night Slash, super effective. It gets the KO, and they've got Charm Clefable in the back. And that is certainly game over here. We can go straight for Trailblaze. Trailblaze, gonna ramp up our attack here. One more Bullet Punch, once again, gets that farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on that into next battle. We're going to see a Lapras in the lead. So the opponent here is going to be on Water Gun, so I'm going to swap out there. Oh, okay, we're going to swap into our Scyther, and I don't think this is enough energy for an Ice Beam, but Scyther, not super bulky, so I do end up shielding, but they swap into their Giratina. So at this point, I'm going to fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace, not going to do much damage here, of course. If I was on Night Slash, that would definitely be more ideal in this scenario, but we go for Aerial Ace number 2, getting them fairly low here, at least into the yellow health range, and I'm going to no-shield. If they're on Ancient Power, it gets the KO, but they are actually not, so I'm actually going to swap into my Scyther, bank an Aerial Ace from my Scyther here. Of course, Shadow Sneak, not going to do too much damage. They swap back into Lapras, and I can go straight for a Trailblaze. Trailblaze, gonna do big damage there. It boosts up my attack, and I get the full farm down, which is ideal. They then come in with Clefable, and for whatever reason, I don't throw a charge move. Like, what the heck am I doing there? Even if I just went for a Night Slash there, probably grab a shield there. But now, unfortunately, they've still got 2 shields in play, and they've got a Charmer, and this is definitely not where you want to be with 2 glassy Pokemon, which have resisted fast move damage. At this point, I will reach a second Trailblaze. I should have thrown it sooner there, because now I take 1 more Charm's worth of damage. I can swap Snipe with my Scyther, as of course, I've got the Aerial Ace loaded, but I'm just so low that Giratina can fully Shadow Claw farm me down, and Shadow Claw farm down the Cleavor there. I could have very easily won that game if I just threw a move with my Scyther, but for whatever reason, I had a brain fart, and I completely forgot to throw my energy. But anyways, into the final battle, we see another Charmer, this time in the lead. And typically Charmers in the lead, they're going to love to double shield. So I bait with a Trailblaze, they actually no shield. So at this point, I'm just going to swap out Snipe with my Scyther here. If they got a Fire Punch, I lose anyway. So it doesn't really matter too much that I say swap into my Scyther. But they come in with an Electivire. So going straight for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is going to be shielded by the opponent. I realize they're probably not going to go straight for a Wild Charge. So I'm actually going to no-shield this. But they're on Thunder Punch, which is a lot worse for me because it doesn't get the KO there. They actually get more energy. And this is really tricky for me, but the opponent swaps into a Golurk, and at this point, now we can overfarm massively in this situation. I'm going to no-shield the first move here, Shadow Punch. Does respectable damage, but I am triple resisting the Mud Slaps here. Now I'm going to take my opportunity to overfarm. We are going to shield up the Shadow Punch. I'm now going to overfarm even more, fire off once I get to back-to-back Trailblazes. I'm going to undercharge this. We've got a shield anyways, and at this point, we're going to fire off another Aerial Ace here. Aerial Ace, we are boosted. It will be enough to take out the Shadow Golurk. And of course, I can reach a boosted Trailblaze from this range. Trailblaze takes out the Electivire, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.